Hi, this is Chuck Sutherland with the Real Estate Experts Summit 2020. Our guest coming up is something I'm extremely interested in. Our guest is Vaishali Nikhade, and she's going to share with us about intuition and she has a podcast called The Uncanny Link, and where physics meets metaphysics or science meets woo. I think that's a great title. So, Nikhade, welcome to our Real Estate Expert Summit.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
It's our pleasure to have you here. So I want to ask you, the first question where I want to start with is, when you say where physics meets metaphysics or science meets woo, what do you mean by that?
So there's a little bit of history to that answer. I used to be an engineer and I had studied physics. And then I transitioned to becoming a psychic. I am a business psychic right now, and I studied metaphysics. So I kind of combined physics and metaphysics in this podcast, and essentially I explain to people how the universe gives us signs and how we can use physics and metaphysics to be able to interpret that. And by physics, I mean, or science and woo, for instance, all our senses, the 5 senses that we have, these are all physical senses. And we also have spirit senses, which is what is commonly known as intuition. And the spirit sensors, what they do is they give us the signal, but it is up to us to be able to pick up the signal. For instance, someone may say, oh, I had like a small whisper in my ear, and it asked me to go to this website and apply for this interview, and I actually got the job. And that's really metaphysics coming to you, and then you're following up. Or maybe you'll see like a flash in front of your eyes, or an image in front of your third eye, sort of a thing. Or you'll just get a thought from nowhere, and it's kind of a nudge from the universe telling you that, listen, this is your next step. And if you don't follow up, then you'll have a friend call you and say, hey, did you check out that website? And then you still don't follow up, and then you get an email with the name of the website. So that's how the universe works.
Yeah, I had a deal about 10 years ago where we were involved in a transaction with somebody, and I had this uneasiness about it. And I just like, well, you're just being crazy, Chuck, and you already got enough, we got a lot of money invested in this deal. So, don't just stop thinking those thoughts. And it turned out the guy was crazy, and ended up costing me even more money than I would have lost if I'd stopped early, or if on the front side I had actually just listened to the intuition, the thoughts that I had. And I can tell you, I now am a believer in intuition as my wife has enormously great intuition, and I'm now become sold on the question, how do I develop my own intuition better so that I can anticipate both difficulties that may come from making a particular decision or opportunity that comes from pursuing a particular decision. So I'm really excited about this. So
I want to interject
please.
there just for a second regarding the deal that you had that went bad. Usually that's how intuition comes in, like on a physical level or on a normal level, everything looks good. And you'll say that, hey, I have this $1 million invested in this deal, and my gut is saying no. How can I pull off? What will my partner say? And then you keep going, and suddenly, everything hits the fan, and boom, you lost a lot.
That's what happened.
And
That's what happened.
oh, I wasn't reading you. Uh, I had this client, and this was a long time back when I was first reading. And she came to me, and she had a real estate transaction. And she said, I just want to make sure that this deal is going to close tomorrow. And she told me how much money they had invested and this and that. And I looked at it and I said, listen, this deal is not closing tomorrow and it's not closing in a week. And then she started explaining to me like how so many investors were involved and so on and so forth. So I told her that I hope I'm wrong, but I don't see it closing. So nothing happened after that. I never heard back from her for a week or a month, and I kind of forgot about it. Then she called me after 1 year, and then she introduced herself. And she said, do you remember me? I said, no, because I'd only spoken to her once. Then she explained to me why she had come. I said, yeah, now I remember you. She said, you know what? You were right. That deal actually never closed. It was too complicated and there was this and that involved. So she could have saved herself a lot of headache. But, people like to, or they have to learn their own lessons.
Yeah, I certainly had to learn lessons myself. So
Yeah.
what are some key things uh, to help you develop intuition? If you, I'm assuming that we all have the latent capacity for intuition, but we don't pay attention to it, or we haven't developed it. So what are some of the steps or things that you do to develop that intuition?
Okay, that's cool. I like that question. It's something I teach in my workshops, but I'll try to summarize so that everyone can experiment a little bit and kind of play with it. And one of the things that you can use to develop your intuition is sort of meditation. And what you are doing is you are calming your mind and you're calming your senses or your physical body at least, so that you can let your spirit body or your spirit senses allow to talk to you. So we have like what is known as a physical body, and then we are a spirit in a body. So we also have a spirit. So some people call it like the energy body or the energetic body. Some people call it aura. Some people call it soul. Some people call it spirit. But it all means the same thing. And by calming your mind or calming your senses, physical body, that is one way you can listen to your intuition. Another thing that activates intuition is actually water. And I was just talking to someone before this call. Have you ever noticed that, when people are taking a shower or where people are close to water or something, you suddenly get hit by this flash of thought and then it disappears. And that's really your intuition talking to you and telling you or giving you the answer on whatever was the question you had in mind, which you were trying to logically figure out. But because intuition is not logical, at times it's very difficult to accept or understand what it means, like the $1 million deal that you had, where you felt really uneasy. But things had already moved forward so much. So intuition kind of just gives you like the final answer without going through the journey. So it shows you the destination. And a lot of people need to or have to go through the journey to understand what it means to come to the destination.
Yeah, I have a little non-real estate story about that. I I was in this is 22 years ago, 21 years ago. I was talking on the phone with a woman I knew, Marilyn, and we volunteered for the same organization. And I saw her once a year at a conference in New York, and I didn't even remember what her name was at the time. And all of a sudden, and we're talking about a transcript she sent me, about an interview she did, and all of a sudden, I'm led to say, "Oh, by the way, I just wanted you to know I'm getting a divorce." And she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I said, "No, this is a good divorce." And we started talking, and we started talking, and we talked every day for 30 days. And after we had our first date, and it was kind of like we knew where it was going. We knew that we were going to be together for maybe all the time, but it would never have happened unless I had heard, I had less said, I heard this thought, which was tell her, and so if, with that, following that intuition, which made no logical sense, I ended up with the love of my life.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. And I actually discussed this thought. It's called claircognizance, which means like to know without knowing, like the when, where, why, how around it. So I take it you were married at the time when you spoke to her?
I was in the middle of a divorce. Yeah, I was married in the middle of a divorce, and I had no reason to tell her. We weren't, we weren't,
Yeah,
we weren't even attracted to one another, at the time. And it was like, I said that, and all of a sudden, we're talking on the phone. We're talking about not necessarily relationship. We're talking about, like business, and we're talking about volunteering and things like that. And all of a sudden, I got my divorce, and all of a sudden we have our first date. It was like amazing.
that is so cool. I love that. What you just mentioned, that is known as claircognizance. And it's also known as knowingness, which means that it's our ability of the spirit to know some information without knowing like a lot of details around it. And funny story is I had something similar happen to me recently. So I live in Northern California, and as you know, because of COVID, the gyms are closed. So I go up to a mountain to hike near my place. And that day morning, as I was getting ready to go up to the mountain, I had this sudden thought in my mind which said that don't go. And then I started questioning myself. I'm like, don't go. I'm trying to get myself out of exercising today. Now I'm definitely going to go. So then I just I just drive my car and I start going there. And as I approach close to the trail, I'm like, usually there's like cars parked on the side of the trail. And I said, looks like not a lot of people there, because believe it or not, a lot of people come there early morning. So it's almost become like a gym parking lot.
Mm.
So I'm like, looks like not a lot of people there. And then, I kind of look at the parking lot, just a very small fence. So you can look at the parking lot while driving before you actually get there. And I'm like, no cars in the parking lot. What's going on? So then I actually reached the trailhead, and there was this huge sign, and it says fire danger, park closed, violator subjected to prosecution. I'm like, oh my God, this is what my intuition was telling me, and I actually missed it.
Mm.
So I just had to come back. But that's a similar story.
Mm. So you said about one of the things you can do is you can use water to invigorate your intuition.
Yes.
And I know that whenever I go away to a lake or someplace else, I relax a lot more than when I'm in my office or even at home. And that if I sit down, like if I'm on a beach and I sit down in the shade on the beach with my feet in the sand, and I always carry a notebook with me to write things down in. I mean, I come up with some of the greatest ideas I ever come up with is just sitting in a area where on the beach or near water, but mostly like I'm relaxed, and not even thinking about business, and yet I come up with business ideas.
Yeah, that's because the thoughts naturally flow to you. So there's two different things. One is you are pushing or you are forcing for things to come. Like you're forcing, how do I solve the problem? And when you think in that particular mode, your thinking is like all analytical. And when your thinking is all analytical, it's like, oh, A leads to B and B leads to C and C leads to D, and that's the only way you can get there. But when you allow yourself to relax a little bit and when you let intuition come in and sort of play with you, then intuition will say, hey, listen, you don't have to go via the linear path. I have this curved road and I can kind of get you there faster. It's almost like, driving cross country. think about it. If I drive from San Francisco to New York, it's going to take me however amount of time, depending on the stops I take and how fast I drive and so on. But if I bypass all the roads, because I'm going through a known path, which is I go on the interstate and then I just take the interstate, either I-70 or I-40. I've actually driven cross country twice, so I know the interstates. So I either take I-70 or I-40, and that's how I go there. But now, and that's all logical thinking and the logical route, which is through the highway or the freeway. And intuition is more like going through the airplane where you bypass everything. And even if the plane shifts a little bit here, shifts a little bit there, it will still land at its destination. And it doesn't need to follow any logic. It doesn't need to follow any rules. It kind of just needs to know where the destination is. And when it comes close to the destination, you know how to land there. So that's really how intuition works.
That's awesome. Let me ask you a question that kind of came up from what you said about you mentioned how when you were going up to the trailhead to hike and exercise, that you ignored your what your earlier intuition was, and and I'm sure I've done that 1,000 times. So how do you, first of all, how do you can you reliably recognize that you've got some intuition here that could help you in a business situation, as an example, that you're ignoring?
That's a great question. So I actually have talked about it on one of my podcast episodes, and it's called Combining Collective Intelligence, which means that you need intelligence from more than one source in order to be able to come to the conclusion. And let's just go back to the trailhead, and then we'll take like a business example. So when I got that thought, it was like just a flash, like don't go. And I didn't pay attention. In fact, I forcibly said that now I'm definitely going to go. But if I had taken a little bit of the background into picture, then I would have known to check a few other things. For instance, that time there were wildfires going on here up in Northern California. So that was one factor. But if I had asked for a clarification, the second thing you can do is you can ask for a clarification. And if I had asked for a clarification, or if I had looked into it, say psychically or intuitively, and said, why am I getting this thought, don't go, then I would have gotten sort of a second answer to maybe like check the website or something. And if I had done that, then, on the website, it said that all parks are closed because of fire danger. So usually just one thought by itself, even though it has the answer, like I said, intuition will just land you to your destination. And sometimes we are not in the frame of mind to be able to land there because we haven't taken the journey. So if we had one more piece of evidence, and if we add like a couple more pieces of evidence, then it's a lot easier to have the context and have the reference. And we can use those couple of pieces to be able to come to the conclusion.
It's like adding dots to a picture to get a clear picture about what's going on.
And then you need more than one dot, and all those dots should like say the same thing. So this one will say that, hey, don't go to the trailhead. And then, if I had asked for clarification, then I would have probably gotten like fire danger or check the website or something else or call them. But I was so determined to go that I did not, I just kind of discarded it. And that's an excellent example of what happens when you don't listen.
Mm-hmm. Like in business, don't listen in business to your own intuition.
Yeah, even in business, it will happen. And one other thing I have noticed in business is that the universe actually needs like either more than one chance or a couple of, how do I say it? It needs like a 2 or 3 different things to be able to help you land to your destination. For instance, I wanted to be a guest on this summit, and I was wondering, like, is it too late? Can I still get in? And I messaged one person. I haven't heard back from them yet. So I said, okay, let me message a few more people. And as soon as I did that, things just started flowing off or taking off. And here we are.
Yeah, and in fact is that things had to move around over my end for you
And
to get even in a little early. So it was very interesting, um, very very interesting. So, uh, but you followed your gut, you could say, to not give up.
yeah, I'll have to admit that I was a little skeptical when I looked at I don't want to say roll call, but when I looked at the list, I'm like, man, these people are all real estate investors. Even if I pitch to them, are they really going to be interested? But someone once told me, if you don't ask, the answer is no. I said, listen, I'm going to try and see if I can get in. So
Well, there,
I did.
you could say there's a reason. I believe in reason. I believe that things work out for the right reasons if you're awake.
Yes, absolutely. I believe in that. I'll give you an example for that. And this one is actually related to real estate. So this was a long time ago when I was working in a city called Fremont. It's up in Northern California. And I was looking to buy a house. And I asked around the people at work that, what cities are good to live in. And they gave me like a couple of examples, and it looked like things were either pointing like south or north. And so I kind of visited the south, and then I was up visiting north. And there is this place called East Bay where you have like 3, 4 cities: Dublin, Pleasanton, Livermore, and so on. And I didn't have a GPS at the time, or my car did not. So I knew what the exits were. So I just drove, and I just took a random exit and just checked out the neighborhood, and I liked it. And after that, I decided I would do all my research on the internet. And once I did that, I narrowed it down to like 3 or 5 houses, because I would kind of go and look at houses in the lunch break and then kind of see them on the weekend. Those were my 2 time slots. So there was one house in particular I just had liked, and I showed it to my real estate agent. And I told her that, these are the 3 or 5 houses I would like to see. So she looks at them and she says, oh, this one. She said someone has already had like a deal on it, but she said it's a very nice house. And then there were 2 or 3 other houses. So then she showed me like 2 or 3 houses, and I was going to finalize one of them because I had to get the job done, for lack of a better term. So I decided to go and finalize the house. And then as we were driving to that house, she said, you know what? The other house you had asked for earlier, that house actually fell off the market.
Mm.
And then we go there, and then I go and look at that house. And as soon as I walked in that house, I just knew that I was going to get that one. So this is like a last minute flip. And I ended up buying that because apparently there was some discrepancy in the square footage. But to me, it didn't make a difference. I had just liked the house so much that I didn't
Right.
really care.
Right. Hey, you mentioned something a while ago about it was, I can't remember the words you used, but it was something in the world that you get the answers. And there's a author, a writer that many people on the call will know his name, and that's Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
And he wrote his first most famous book is Think and Grow Rich, but he has a whole bunch of other books. And he talks about the 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 infinite the infinite intelligence, and so it sounds to me like there's like almost a you're saying that there is a intelligence or a, reservoir of knowing that where basically you're pulling the information from. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so you can call it infinite intelligence, and the intelligence actually comes from our soul. And essentially, like how, as a physical being, right now I'm sitting here in my room doing this recording, and my vision and my sight and my ability is limited to what I can see in this room. And if I have to kind of go and see what's going on in the living room or what channel is playing on the TV over there, then I would have to physically get up and see what's going on over there. But as a spirit, that our spirit does not have any bounds. It's not bounded by space and it's not bounded by time. And you can think of infinite intelligence as the spirit, which is not bounded by space and time. And I'll just take a brief moment to explain how this would work. So, as a psychic or as a business psychic, if you're not bounded by space, then you can look through space and see what's happening. So, for instance, if somebody calls me on the phone and says, "Hey, I lost my key. Can you tell me where it is?" And this is a real life example. And so I tell that person, or I tell those people that, "Hey, can you just look here and there?" And I kind of show them where the key is. And they go and voila, the key is there. So that's like looking through space. And you can also look through time, which is the example I did for the video, which is I had this client, she was going to put in this bid of 225,000. And I said, "No, listen, you can still put in 260,000 and win it." And she puts in 260,000 and she actually wins it. So essentially she gets like a $35,000 raise. So that's like looking through time. For instance, let's say that you have a property on sale for $1 million, and you have it on sale for let's say 30 days. And at 45 days is really your cutoff, and you are like, "I don't really care if I lose 100,000 here or there, I got to get rid of it." So if this client were to come to me, I would tell her that, "Hey, listen, if you wait for like 10 more days, you could get 100,000 off." So, or if you came to me, then I would tell you, "Hey, you know what? This is the type of client you need to look for, or this is where you can advertise." I can also do like future description, like I do description of people. So I could tell you, "Hey, this is what your future buyer is going to look like." Or if you're debating, where should I advertise, where I could get the buyer who would pay me like 1.1 instead of 1, then we could look into that. So like all these things are possible. It's all a matter of, how much resources you want to invest in it.
Well, I can tell you that uh, I don't know how many years ago, at least if I would have heard about you, I'd have gone, "Oh, that's nothing. Forget that." But I got to tell you, I have, when you have some age on you, sometimes you see a lot of things and you consider a lot of things of value. And the whole conversation about, uh, like soul knowing, I would have said 20 years ago or 30 years ago, I might have said, forget that. But I got to tell you, I've read a lot. And when I read Napoleon Hill talking about infinite intelligence, I just have to really pay attention because that book made a huge difference in my life. So, so you have some, so thank you for being here, by the way. Say it again. Thank you for being here.
No, it's nice to be here. It's nice to talk a little bit more about real estate. I've read Napoleon Hill, I think 2 times or 3 times. I've at least read it twice, I think. I love that book.
Yeah. Yeah. Me and a whole lot of other people. A lot of people I know got started in real estate and in business because they read that book. So
yeah, it's a great book.
So you have a gift for our attendees, I think, do you not?
I do have a gift. So what happens is, like, the universe always disguises something in terms of like an ordinary event or an ordinary thing. And I think I have a quote on my website, or on my social media channel, which is the universe never opens a golden door with the word gold on it.
Mm.
Usually it's kind of disguised as something really ordinary.
Or a problem.
Can be a problem too. Uh, and then you have to make a decision. Do you want to go this way or that way? And then based on that, either you end up opening a cascade of golden doors or you end up losing, like you said, $1 million in a transaction. So I have what is known as the creativity quiz, and it shows you how you create, which means that are you going to open up a cascade of golden doors, or are you going to open up doors which is going to help you burn some money? I hope not that. But that's what the quiz does, and it has some real life scenarios, which are all the questions in the quiz are from real life scenarios. And then based on how you do in the quiz, you can just refine your abilities to be able to make better decisions. And then, there's like additional refinement. I teach courses and all that. But yeah, that's the best place to get started and see where you end up.
Well, how did somebody find that quiz to start with?
Okay, so I'll give you the link, which we can put in the notes. And if you go to my website, which is theUncannyLink.com, and you can hit on the quiz button, that's where you come to the quiz. And once again, the website is theUncannyLink.com. You can go to the website directly, or you can just Google the Uncanny Link podcast, and it will still take you to that website.
The Uncanny Link, okay?
.com.
.com. Is it the Uncanny Link?
It's
T-H-E?
theUncanyLink.com. THE Uncanny Link, LINK.com.
All right. And can people find out how to find out information about your courses that you were talking about?
Yes,
Sure.
you can go on the website and you can get access to my courses as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I really
And
want to.
if you're interested to work with me on a deal or a transaction, then just hit the work with me button and you can complete the application form.
So intuition goes digital, right?
Intuition goes digital, online, with or without a video.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you being here and appreciate your insights and the possibilities that they might create for thinking about using our intuition in a way that, or using other people's intuition in a way that can help us make or save money or help us make good decisions versus bad decisions. So we
Yes.
thank you for being here, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was really nice to be here, and it looks like the universe opened a lot of doors for me to be here today.
Exactly. Well, it means something. All right. So
Yes.
you all, we will. This is the last session of the Real Estate Expert Summit, and so I really appreciate you all being with us here on the summit. If you want to come back and watch some of the videos again, you always can purchase the recording package, which is available on your dashboard of your Hey Summit site. So thank you for being here. Thank you for following our speakers. We hope you get really great value out of having been here, and reach out to our speakers whenever you can, and see if we can really create a whole community of people working together. All right. Thank you.